Hello, welcome to Hook Legends, and thanks for watching today's video. I'm Henry, your host. Now today we're going to continue the video series on mastering maps. A lot of you gave some good positive feedback and said you want more of it. If you're not currently using maps as a part of your strategic plan to take more fish out the water and put them in the boat, this is a great opportunity to maybe pick up some good tips that's going to help put you on some more fish. Now, first thing I'd like to say before we get into the detail here is I would like to say thanks to all of our subscribers. I appreciate all of you. It's because of you that I do this. I appreciate all the questions and comments. Try to respond to all of them as promptly as I can. So before we get into the detail, I want to take a quick break. We're going to go out and acknowledge our sponsor. Because of them, it all happens. So we'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into the thick of it, guys. And a part of this video, I'm going to actually go out and I'm going to bring up some maps. I'm going to show you how to configure your maps in a way that things will be revealed right before your eyes. So the first thing I want to do is I want to give you a definition, a textbook definition of what I call sectionalization. Once again, the tournament guys, they call it eliminating dead water. Their focus is to show up on a lake for the first time, or maybe they've been there before, but they want to show up on a lake, identify certain conditions, and know how to not have to waste time fishing in what they call dead water or unproductive waters. Okay, so I like to call it sectionalization because I look at it slightly different. I like for certain areas of the lake to be color-coded, separated out, because there's going to be parts of the lake I fish during the springtime. There's going to be part of the lakes I fish in the summertime, the fall, basically all the season, guys. And there's certain indicators that I like to look at and know those particular areas of the lake. To give you an example, due to some of the things I said at the beginning of this video, it's probably been about 10 or 12 days before I actually got out on the water and did some serious fishing. But I had an opportunity to go out yesterday, and instantly, just like that, I was able to go directly to the spots that were just loaded with crappie. Now, I use my maps to identify those. I can't say, guys, that I use my maps every single time. I don't go searching using maps and side scan and down imaging all the time. I'll spend quality time doing that research to find out where the fish live, season after season after season, based on certain conditions. And then I pretty much just go all the way back to those. I just pretty much just go back to those spots where I know they are. But in order to collect that knowledge base on a given lake, you got to get out and do your homework. I mean, you have to get out there and do your research. So let me go ahead and give you a textbook definition of why I call it sectionalization. Okay, sectionalization is the act of dividing or partitioning, separation by the creation of a boundary that divides or keeps apart. Okay, now how does that relate to crappie fishing? Well, as you already know, guys, a lot of times in the springtime, fish are up in the pads or near the pads or the shallows or somewhere in the back of creeks. So there are certain formulas, there's certain indicators, things you can look for to figure out those migration routes that the fish are going to take, and some of the highest possibility areas to find fish that are actually going into the shallows and spawn. So it'll also help you discover some of these intermediate areas. Sometimes the fish will take these travel lanes, and you can see where the lane gets the closest to an area that may contains lily pads or something that looks like the fish may spawn there. Now, a lot of times these fish will stop short halfway in between, but just being able to reveal and understand those traveling lanes, it really means a lot. So that's why I call it sectionalization. So the pros, they call it eliminating dead water, because once again, they just want to show up for a tournament or prior to a tournament, do some pre-fishing, and they really are concerned about where the big fish are. Okay, so they're eliminating dead water. They don't really care about the areas that may contain some small fish. They want to fish the areas that's going to contain some large fish that's going to help them win a tournament. So I think I've kind of given you enough background here that I'm probably going to go ahead and just dive right into the demonstration, because what I want to do today is I'm not going to get into the details of telling you the sections and exact depths and all of that thing. This is more of a teach you how to use your maps to reveal things. Using your maps is a skill set in itself. Now, once you know how to go in and make these certain adjustments and changes, you can then apply it based on the knowledge that you have. The temperature, the structure that's there, whether you have lily tails, coontail moths, whether you have lakes that maybe are perhaps in a thermocline, so you know that pretty much in the summertime, there's going to be little life in a lake down below that thermocline due to lack of oxygen. Once you gather all this knowledge along with your skills to go in and manage your maps, it's just going to make you it's going to help you be a whole lot more productive once you're out on the water. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to jump into the demonstration part of this video, and I'm going to get off the big camera. We're just going to be on my iPad here, and I'll be recording it so I can show you some of these features. So let's go ahead and make that jump. Okay, we're going to go ahead and jump right into this. Now, you know, one of the first things we're going to do, I did a video a couple of weeks ago on maps. That was kind of an introductory video. Now, today we're going to take a little bit deeper dive into it. Hope you, after watching this video, you have a good understanding of some of the basic terms and know how to go in and sectionalize or break down a lake into certain areas. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to use the Garmin application for this. Now, the first thing I want to do once I get here, this is a map of an area of Lake Tarquin, one of the lakes that I spend a lot of time fishing on. And one of the first things I want to do is, you know, when you purchase your map, it may already come with some color levels to it, breaking down the areas of the lake based on various depths. So the first thing I want to do, the first thing I'm going to do is I want to talk to you for just a second. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is a good understanding of contour lines is one of the most important things you can learn if you're going to understand and benefit from topographic maps. So I want to go in here and get started. And I'm going to start by turning off, going to my chart settings, going to my depth shading, and I have a bunch of color coded regions of the lake, and I'm just going to start turning those off one at a time, because I want to start with some definitions, and in starting with those definitions, I want to show you a few things. So hit done. So if you look at this particular map, I'm going to expand this, and you'll see a little mushroom shaped area out there. Matter of fact, let's see if I can highlight that little area by what's about 20 something foot deep. See if I can turn that on. That wasn't it. Turn on another one. That one maybe. There we go. Okay, turn these off. This little mushroom shaped area there, and it didn't highlight all of it, but it does have the majority of it. If you take a look in that blue area, that's actually the river channel out there. And I'm going to turn it right back off because I actually think you can probably see it better without it. But you can actually see the contours of looks like a mushroom head. Make it even bigger so you can see it. Now, contour lines is something you definitely have to, or something you definitely need to understand if you're going to get into reading topographical maps. If you look here, you'll see, and I'm just going to take the top of that mushroom, and you'll see there's an area that is showing 18 feet, and the center of the river, because this is the river channel, showing 22 feet. And then when you come up the other side, there's a little flat there about 13 feet. Okay. So the first thing you need to learn when you're dealing with contour lines, well, first let me give you the definition of these contour lines. A contour line is a line drawn on a topographic map to indicate ground elevation or depression. A contour line interval is the vertical distance or difference in elevation between the contour lines. So by looking at these contour lines, you can identify humps, ridges, primary channels, secondary channels, flats, points, structure. And what you want to do when you're out here fishing, you want to use this structure and find structure where there's cover in a lot of cases. So, but it's very important to understand the difference between structure and cover. Structure are part of the attributes of the physical part of the lake, like ledges, the bottoms, the humps, things like that. Cover is things that have been kind of added that are not part of the physical bottom of the lake. Brush piles, fallen trees, things of that nature. So I'm going to minimize this just a little bit. And then I want to move over to a different area here of this map. You see right here, there's an area that's 13 feet. What that is, that's pretty flat. You can see that if you go just north of that or straight up from that, you know, there's some pretty big areas out there that are just pretty much flats. So those are your flats. Let me move this map in a little bit, see if I can show you some flats on some larger scales. So let me move around. If you take a look, you'll see this is kind of in the middle part of the lake. There's that mushroom I was telling you about, and Goat Island over here. But if you look just kind of out here in the middle, you see a lot of flat out there, 12 to 13 feet. So those are your flats, and what it means is pretty much where there's great distances that there's not a whole lot of elevation changes. So that's a flat. Also, while I'm talking about it, let me go ahead and show you what a ridge is. Show you an example of a ridge. So as you can see, the river channel is back over here, where you see a lot of these lines close together, which means those drop-offs are going to happen pretty quick within a short distance of a short span of distance. Now, also the river here, you see it with the contour lines being close together. You also see some areas where the contour lines are far apart, and for longer distances, those are going to be your flats. And sometimes those are some of the best situations you can find out in the middle of the lake if the depth is right, and also depending on the thermocline and some other variables. So if you can find some of those flats with cover close to deep water, such as the river channel, those places will help you out a lot. Now, in a few minutes, guys, I'm going to actually go in here and I'm going to set up I'm going to put the colors back in this and show you how to use these colors to help find some of these features out there in the middle of the lake. You know, when I push off from the boat dock and I'm going out to find fish, I don't just randomly drift around the lake and, you know, dropping lures and baits and stuff here and there. The features I'm showing you here, remember, I'm using a smart app. So this is on an iPad. It's something I do a lot while I'm at home. I can watch a movie and I sit here and I play on this. So I study the structure of a lake, so that when I get to the lake, I don't do my research while I'm out there. I pretty much know the exact location. The more and more you spend time looking at these maps, the better and better you're going to get at starting to identify key features that will consistently hold crappie regardless of the time of year that you're fishing. In other words, you know, if you're in the springtime, you need to be near some type of bedding cover, lily pads, coontail moss, whatever. Depending on the lake that you're in, obviously, you have different kinds of cover in different lakes. You know, but you'll be able to use these contour lines on here to find key features. Okay, so what I want to do next, I think I've showed you contour lines here, and I hope you have a good understanding of the drop-offs when the contour lines are close together versus open water flats, varying vast distances where there's no contour line. Okay, you'll also be able to identify deep holes, and I'm going to show you that in just a second. So I think I've covered oh yeah, and I want to talk to you about primary channels and secondary channels. So as you can see, let me go in here and see if I can find one for you. You know, a primary channel is like this deep river channel you see over here with the mushroom shape, and you see the river kind of snaking its way through the lake. that's definitely a primary channel. But if you go, and I'm just going to go north of here, if you go up here in some of these creeks, you'll see that there's secondary channels. So the secondary channels lead and end up in the primary channel. But, you know, one important thing I want to say is that, you know, fish travel these channels and drop-offs the same way we travel highways. You know, if we're going to go to the other side of the country, we're going to take some of the major interstates, and then we'll get off the interstates, and we'll take some, you know, some state roads and county roads, and eventually get back to dirt trails and so on and so forth. So fish will use the main river channels as a highway to get to where they want to go, especially when they're working their way up into the back of creeks to spawn. So, you know, they'll use the major river channel to go so far, then they'll get off on some of the some of the primary channels that'll lead you back into some of the creeks. And on the way back into some of those creeks, there'll be some secondary channels. And they'll sometimes use the secondary channels to get in some of those spawning areas where maybe there's, you know, the hydrilla, the coontail mouse, whatever it is they're bedding in. They use these channels the same way we use highways. Now, this is very important because, as I can tell you, that once you understand how to identify these major roads, you know, there's times of the year when the fish are going to be back in the creeks. There's times when they're going to be out in the mouth of the creeks. And I pretty much, when I go fishing, I try to just make an assessment based on the current conditions, temperature, season, things of that nature, whether I'm going to go to the back of the creek or out to the mouth of the creek. Once the spawn has begun, I always go to some places to the back of the creek, see if the fish are there. If they're not there, I may go out to the mouth of the creek, see if they're there. If I don't find them in the mouth of the creek, I pretty much know they're somewhere in between. And I can't tell you the number of times I went out there and parked my boat or hovered the boat in some of those bends in the channels, primary channels or secondary channels, and I found fish. You know, so you want to break a lake down into regions. And now I'm going to jump in. I'm going to show you how to color code and to set that up. Okay. So I'm going to go back in here now to my charts, and I'm going to go into chart settings. Okay. And then I'm going to click on depth shading. And notice I have a lot of color codes here set up. Now, for demonstration purposes, I color coded this map in 5 feet intervals. So I'm just going to go in and turn these on and talk a little bit about what you're going to see and what you get. 5 feet, that really only comes in, I'm turning it on, it's red. You can have that in here just really so you can, if you're out boating, to be safe for one thing. You're getting close around the edge, shallow water. You got to watch out for objects. But these 5 foot areas are also going to be some of your prime fishing spots, okay, when the spawn has begun. Now, once again, I have these set up, and if I turn them all on, I'm going to turn them all on just so you can see what it looks like, okay? And then I'm going to turn them back off because I want to make some points to you. And, well, first I'm going to go in here and show you how to set one of these up. Let's say, for example, I wanted to set up a new color-coded range, okay? I hit new depth range. And this, it's not going to be exactly like this on your fish finder because I'm using a smart app on an iPad, okay? But it's going to be similar. You go in on your fish finder and you set up exactly the same thing. So let's say, for example, in my particular lake, the thermocline is at 18 feet, okay? So what I want to do is I want to set up a range of 18 feet to maybe 23 feet, okay? And I want that to be, for the sake of what I'm doing here, let's just make it dark green, okay? So what I would do is I would go out then and I would look everywhere you see these green areas. If that's where the thermocline is, I would just troll the edges of the thermocline, the edges of these areas, and turn on my side imaging and my down imaging. And I would just, right there, the border between the white area and the green, I just go all around it, those contours around the lake, looking for schools of crappie, okay? And then once I find a school of crappie, you know, I'll go ahead and put a waypoint on it. May or may not fish it at that time because I tend to go out days at a time and just locate schools. I did this a couple of years ago because eventually you're going to get to the point where you really don't need to do this anymore because you're going to know based on the season where the fish are. I pretty much scanned the entire lower 1/3 of Lake Tarquin and quite a few areas back, up in the first and second thirds of Lake Tarquin also. So you see how easy it is. You can come in here and just adjust that. You can choose a different color for it if you wanted to, and you can change the minimum and maximum to highlight that. And I'm going to hit cancel, and I'm going to bring it back up. I'm going to delete that depth range because I really don't need it. I just wanted you to see how to add it. Okay, so let's go back now, and I'm going to turn on the red one. Those are the edges. Now, what I want to do is, let's say if in your particular lake, the fish are hanging in the summertime pattern and they're 20 to 25 feet down. Okay. Now I'm going to do something a little different. Let's say they're hanging in 10 to 15 feet down in the summertime. Once again, I would just troll these outer perimeters there because crappie like depth changes. Okay, they really like the ability to be in the water of that they desire, but they also like the ability to go deep when they need to go deep. Also, so I'm going to turn off the 20 to 25, and I want to turn on 25 to 30. Okay, that didn't really show me a whole lot. So I'm going to turn that one back off, and I'll turn on the 15 to 20. So what this is going to give you some areas that are in green that will help you patrol those areas and that have access to deeper water. So that's what I do. And each lake is different. One lake, the thermocline may be at 12 feet. Another lake, it might be at 18 or 20 feet. Other lakes may not have a thermocline at all. Some of your shallower natural lakes may not even have a thermocline at all. So now it doesn't mean that your maps aren't helpful. I went to a natural lake a couple of weeks ago. I admit it took me an hour and a half to 2 hours, but I eventually, using the contours, I was able to find a school of crappie. And what it appeared that they were doing was all of the fish in that lake, all the crappie got together in one huge school. So it took a while to find that school, but once we found that school using the same principles that I'm showing you here, we were able to get on some fish, and you'll be able to get on fish consistently. So what I want to talk about next is I'm going to come in here and I want to show you one of the major. I'm going to show you I think this is the Boy Scout camp area down on Lake Tarquin. So I'm going to turn on the red, and as you can see, there's a lot of white area here because I don't have any other depth areas to find. Now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn on the yellow. And remember, the yellow was 5 to 10 feet. You see that? And I'm going to go one more. I'm going to turn on the green, which is 10 to 15 feet. And if you look real hard, you can almost see like a path. You see these? Now I've read a lot of material where say these are called V's. I tend to look at them as U's. But they kind of indicate the path. Once again, these are the underwater highways. See if I can make this a little bigger, give you a little bit more contour. But these are going to be your underwater highways that the fish are traveling to get back into some of those spawning areas. So now here you see there's a point right there that's 11. It's not really a point, but there's that 11-foot area leading into some areas that are 5 to 10 feet. That lead into areas that are perfect spawning grounds that are 5 feet. So they say, for example, the fish are spawning, they're in those red areas, and all of a sudden a cold front comes through. They're going to back out to the next level, which is going to be that yellow area. So you can pretty much search there for the fish. Now, if it gets, very, very cold, they may drop all the way back out here to this green area that you're looking at also. So once again, what I'm trying to get you to understand is that by using these contours, and you can come in and you can set up different shadings to help you kind of locate and track, or what I say, regionalize, categorize, sectionalize, whatever you want to call it, certain areas of the lake. You can come in, let's say, for example, put in certain depth ranges, custom depth ranges here to maybe show you deep holes that are out there in the middle of the lake. So I want to talk here briefly about, turn these back off for conversation purposes. Guys, one of the things that used to trip me up quite a bit is, I'm a fisherman. Like all fishermen, will keep our ears and eyes open for information. And one of the things that I used to struggle with is I would listen and I would hear people say, wow, the fish are biting, and they're in the river channel. Here's why that caused me problems. See, what I didn't know at the time was some of the boats that were putting in fishing in the river channel, they may have been way back up on the upper end of the lake. Okay. And if you take a look here, I'm going to turn these on one at a time. So I'm going to go down. I'm going to turn on the 40-foot one. Notice there's absolutely no change in this map. I'm going to do two at a time. I'm going to turn on the 25 to 30-foot one. I'm going to turn on the 20 to 25. And notice when I turn on 20 to 25, I get just a little tiny area. You see that? That's that deep. So for the most part, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the 15 to 20. I started getting a little bit of coverage directly in the river channel at 15 to 20. Now, on the opposite end of the lake, I want to show you what 50. So if someone says I was catching fish in the river channel, they were up on this end of the lake. If they were fishing the upper end, that means chances are they were fishing in 15 to 20 feet of water. I'm going to take you all the way down here to the lower end of the lake. Okay. Now, if you get down here to the lower end of the lake, is where I do most of my fishing, you'll see that 15 to 20 feet doesn't get you anywhere near the river channel. Okay. 15 to 20 feet gets you into a whole lot of area out there, pretty much in the middle of the lake. There's just so many areas out here deeper because this end of the lake is a whole lot deeper. So if you listen to someone, they say we caught the fish in the river channel, you really need more information. What you really want to know is the depth at which they were fishing. Okay. Because if they were in the river channel and they were fishing in, 15 to 20 feet of water, then if I turn all of these off, pretty much you'll want to fish these areas here, which happen to be away from the river channel, which, depending on the time of year, could be productive, maybe not productive. All right. But if you want to fish, let's say, for example, 10 to 15 feet of water, then on this end of the lake, it puts you in the back of creeks because this end of the lake is deeper. In order to get in the water of that depth, you're going to be pretty much fishing up in the creek channels here. So that's another way where I hope you can kind of understand when you have your ears open and you're listening, what that means. Now, I don't want this particular video to get too long, guys. I really want you to have an opportunity to, get out, play with your maps. There's so much I can cover here, but guys, it pretty much comes down to being able to identify ridges, humps, holes, drop-offs. And if you just sit here and play with the depth shading and turn them on and off one at a time, the map will start revealing things to you. So then the only piece that's left, if you'll need to know in your particular lake that you're fishing, where are you going to find most of the fish? What you need to identify the thermocline. And once you get the thermocline identified, remember the thermocline, below the thermocline, the water is cooler, but if a thermocline sets up, there's a good possibility there's low or no oxygen down below the thermocline. So chances are the fish are going to be right at that thermocline and maybe a few feet above. Okay. So then you can come out on your lake and you can start targeting fish in the areas that's likely to hold fish. Okay. So once again, when the pros go out to a lake, they're not just dropping out a bait here and there and going all across the lake until they find fish. Based on where the fish are, whether they're spawning, whether they're in the summer pattern, fall pattern, winter pattern, post-spawn, pre-spawn, all of that, depending on where those fish are in that cycle and depending on the temperature, it gives you some pretty good indicators where you can reliably go out on any lake and put yourself on some fish. So, guys, I've said a lot here. I don't want to beat a dead horse too much. I think you kind of get the point. So let me know, give me some feedback if you think I need to go a little bit deeper into this or if this was, maybe a little bit too deep. But I just wanted you to have an opportunity to kind of get a better understanding of maps And I can tell you with 100% confidence that it's going to help put you on fish more consistently if you master maps and incorporate it into your fishing strategy. Okay, so once again, I just want to wrap up here. So as you can see, you can go in and by learning how to color code your maps, it can definitely help you put you in the best position to find fish. Guys, it's not always guaranteed you're going to find them. I mean, there's no replacement for just getting out on a lake and doing some homework, doing a whole bunch of research. So once again, if you like this video, do me a favor, please reach up right now, click subscribe and like, and make sure you click the notification bell so you'll be alerted when future videos are released. Thanks for watching Hook Legends.